Before I get into this video, I want to be a bit upfront about the fact that this is probably going to be the closest we ever get to a sponsored video on this channel. As if you're not aware, ChiGuys are the main enemy in Yoshi's Crafted World. They're found throughout just about every single level in the game, taking on many forms, shapes, and sizes, wielding knives, shurikens, giant axes, hell, even lightsabers. These guys, they really like to kill Yoshis. So obviously, I'm going to have a little bit of bias going into a discussion about this game. The ChiGuys don't usually get this level of representation, and as is kind of the talk these days, it's always good to see characters that you can relate to in the entertainment you consume, so this was a pretty big deal for me. But yeah, with that said, this is an absolutely beautiful game. The handcrafted art direction is so visually appealing. That's definitely the main point I could gush about forever with this title. The levels all look like those dioramas you used to make in school, at least that I used to make in school. I don't know how much they still do this in school. You know, everything's made with like colored paper and cardboard. Things are hanging with little strings. But besides being kind of unique and different, what makes it so amazing is how they made things not just look like an arts and crafts project, but how they go so far with the detail to make it look like even budget at times, more realistic. You know, spaceships made out of paper plates and plastic soda bottles, even something like the clouds. You've got, you know, like white paper glued onto brown cardboard. You can see wrinkles in the paper where, you know, it didn't stick quite right with the glue. Some of them will have sharp edges. You know, if you like tried to cut clouds out of paper with scissors, you'd want to have those nice rounded edges, but it's easy to screw it up and make it choppy on the sides, which is something you'll see with all. See, I could just go on with just about the clouds in this game. It is abundantly clear that meticulous care and effort went in designing just about every aspect of this world, down to the finest details. And that design philosophy carries over into the costumes, which this game actually uses a loot box system, sort of. They actually kind of borrowed a bit from Mario Odyssey, you know, giving you a reason to want to collect all these coins because you can use your coins on capsule machines that give you random costumes. There are normals, rares, and super rares for you to unlock, even though it is a loot box system in that you don't know which you're going to get. You don't get repeats, and of course, you don't spend any real money on them. So this game has a loot box system I actually like. The costumes themselves, like I said, very in tune with the crafted theme. They look like cheaply made Halloween costumes. Well, some are kind of fancy, but most just look like cardboard cutouts that were, you know, scribbled on. Which, speaking of, there's a Labo costume. Works very well with the theme, considering much of the environment is made out of cardboard. There's also amiibo support with the costumes. Many of the main Mario characters, you know, your Mario, Peach, Luigi, Bowser, etc., unlock costumes based on those characters. Also, the different Yarn Yoshi amiibo unlock Yarn Yoshi costumes. This actually made me kick myself that I didn't get the Yoshi's Woolly World release on the 3DS, because that came with a Poochie amiibo, and the Poochie amiibo costume in this just looks so cool. I really wish I could have got that. Yeah, the visuals are amazing. The music is also top-notch, very calm and soothing. Yeah, presentation-wise, you know, if we're just talking about visual design and like audio, I'd probably give this game like a 9.5 or a 10. Honestly, I love it. I remember a lot of people saying the resolution on this game was really bad in the demo. I didn't play the demo, so I don't know how much changed since then, but I'll say with the full release, what I played, the resolution is fine for the most part, but it kind of seems like the backgrounds had to be made very blurry to keep the quality of the foreground a bit higher, and it also makes this jarring focus effect when you aim into the background to throw eggs. I get the concept of putting things in and out of focus, but it's just not smooth. So when you are like in the foreground aiming into the background, or maybe even in the background aiming into the foreground, everything just kind of snaps in and out of focus while aiming. And the resolution is also lower when you're playing in handheld mode versus docked, but I don't think it's very noticeable since you are on the smaller screen. And while there may be some downsides in the resolution department, frame rate is uncompromised. This game runs at a pretty flawless 60 frames per second. I noticed only a handful of moments throughout the entire game where I got a dropped frame or two. As I always say, I'm a frame rate over resolution guy. Obviously, we want both to be as solid as possible, but if I have to choose between a lower quality image or choppy movement, I'll take the resolution hit pretty much every time. And like I said, the game is still totally stunning, a feast for your eyes. I would just note that the resolution is a bit low. But what about the gameplay? Well, as I mentioned, while this is a 2D platformer, it is still in a very 3D environment. You're often interacting with the foreground and the background, like I mentioned, aiming your eggs to throw into either plane, as well as taking different paths that will bring Yoshi onto these different planes. There are even some levels that are sort of on rails, have you moving through a 3D environment while Yoshi himself can only move on 2D. This is used to create levels that are like shooting galleries, or even a racing level, which does a nice job of breaking up the standard platforming gameplay. As with the previous Yoshi game, Woolly World, this is a very accessible platformer, great for playing with your kids or anyone who doesn't have much gaming prowess. It does have 2-player co-op, and I want to talk about that for a bit since game difficulty has been such a hot topic lately. If games like Sekiro are too hard and need an easy mode to appeal more to casuals, is Yoshi's Crafted World too easy? Does it need a hard mode to appeal to the more core players? Yeah, maybe this game needs a mode where you die in one hit and there are double the amount of enemies on the screen. Or how about you nerf Yoshi's flutter jump and widen the gap between platforms to the point where you need pinpoint precision to make any jumps across them? Honestly, I'd probably play something like that, but is it necessary? No, because this is just a different type of game that is looking to appeal to a different, broader audience. There's nothing wrong with Sekiro being tough as nails and Yoshi being more of a breeze. We don't need every game going out of their way to suit every playstyle. But for you epic gamers out there, it's not like this game is a snooze fest, alright? There are tons of collectibles strewn throughout each level, and some can be pretty tricky to find. Again, with the way things are sort of multi-layered, there are often things hiding in the background area, and if you have to get Yoshi over there, the path to do that isn't always clear. So you have to be diligent if you're trying to track down everything. And there's also a second run mode for levels where you have to track down the Poochie pups. You play a different, usually mirrored or shortened version of the level and are trying to get the 3 Poochies as fast as possible. You get an extra flower collectible by beating it in a certain time frame. And I'll be honest, some of them took me multiple attempts before I got a run that was under that required time. Also, once you beat the game, you unlock even more levels, boss challenges, etc. So there is plenty to do beyond just playing the game once through. If you go for 100% completion, definitely expect there to be a bit of a challenge, just not in a way that's going to get you frustrated. It's a nice cool-off game in that way, I think, as well. I was actually playing this game alongside Sekiro. There were plenty of times I encountered a particularly difficult section and died a stupid amount of times. And you know, it's like when a game starts beating you down so much, you may find yourself just trying to brute force it, almost smashing your head against the wall. As you get more frustrated, you pay less attention, die even worse and quicker, everything just starts to unravel. If you start getting to that point, I think it's always nice to take a break from that game, come back to it, do something more relaxing, and that's exactly what I found myself doing with Yoshi. No matter how angry you are, I think after putting in just a half hour or so into this game, you'll find yourself getting a little bit more mellow. Remember that back in the day when we played video games for fun? Use them to relax and unwind, not rage out and throw controllers across the room? Yeah, me neither. Overall, sorry I have to, this is a finely crafted game that lives up to the Nintendo seal of quality. While it's definitely built with the casual player in mind, there's plenty to keep a more core player busy, and the multiple planes and use of 3-dimensional space are executed in various ways to keep things fresh. Also, this is definitely the cutest platformer you can currently play on Switch. Not just because of the art design, but the world is filled with Shy Guys. I mean, what could be better than that? Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on Yoshi's Crafted World in the comments. Are you currently playing the game, and how do you think it stacks up against other platformers on the Switch? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of Yoshi's Crafted World. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter, @JohnnyZakari, and join my Discord, Shy Guy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. There's actually a Smash Brothers tournament going on in the Discord this weekend, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, be sure to head over there and ask for more info. And as always, thanks for watching.